Without further ado, hey everyone. So today we've got Federico from Stack Against. Fede, I'm gonna let you kind of introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are and what you do, and go from there. Over to you, mate.
Sure, awesome. And thanks for the invite, Ryan, Tony. So basically, I'm a copywriter turned SaaS copywriter turned comparison pages specialist turned business owner, and that was kind of like the path to Stack Against, which is the company that I built recently. And I started working as a copywriter. Then I niched down. I wanted to work with SaaS companies alone. And then I did a couple of projects or a few projects with different clients who requested comparison pages. And suddenly I realized, like, oh, I have an interesting process here that gets me from research to writing to designing to bringing traffic to these landing pages, which is really interesting. And I noticed a lot of SaaS companies were doing comparison pages or were planning to do comparison pages. Every time the topic came up, a lot of people showed interest. So I said, why don't I kind of like package this up, create like a productized service around the idea of comparison pages, and that's what we did, and that's how Stack Against was built. And yeah, we've been working with some great clients since we opened the agency, and it's been fun. And we've been really niching down and trying to become the experts for all things comparison pages. And we're adding some other elements to our services, like battle cards, for example, or we can also do your Google Ads for when you want to bring traffic to these comparison pages. So anything that is related to comparison pages, we're also trying to do. But really, our biggest asset and our know-how is built around the landing pages. So that's the intro.
Fantastic, mate. Do you wanna share your screen and we'll jump in and get into it?
Yes.
Perfect.
Let me share my screen here. And okay. Can you see this?
Perfect.
Okay. So this is how to write competitor comparison pages that win more of your ideal clients. With reinforcing that idea of ideal clients, right? Because it's not just about getting leads, but hopefully being able to funnel the best fit leads your way. And maybe even so, if one of these prospects is not really a good fit for you, maybe you want to send them to your competitors, right? Like, let them find a better solution, because otherwise they're going to choose you, they're going to churn in a couple of months, and they're going to get a bad taste from using your tool. So you don't want that. You want to funnel the ones that are going to stick with you, that are going to love your tool, that are going to recommend it to everyone else. So that's also part of the idea behind this comparison page, is really trying to capture your best fit buyers. And give me a sec, I don't know. Okay, yeah. So a little bit of theory. This presentation is going to be very, very actionable. Like, we have a couple of slides of theory, and then it's just all of best practices and some tips and tricks we've picked along the way. But just to provide a little bit of context, what are comparison pages? And the way we see it is, probably if you're watching this presentation, you already know what we mean by comparison pages. But we want to add this twist to this answer. Comparison pages are an answer to frustrated users. Why? Because there are so many options. So many options, and new products are being built and launched every single day. But there are so many options in the space that whenever somebody's making a purchasing decision, or they're switching from a current tool that they're using and they want to try a new alternative, they get frustrated. They get anxiety because they can't find the best answer to their problems. There are so many options that it's really hard for them to identify how each tool is different and which one is going to be the right fit for them right now, right? So this frustration creates anxiety, and they hate, right? They hate making this decision. So you want to help them make this decision. And where do comparison pages fit in your funnel? Very close to the bottom. chances are somebody that is interested in your comparison pages, they're either looking right now for a solution, or they're switching from a different vendor and they're evaluating you. They're probably coming to these comparison pages from SEO, searching for alternatives to whatever, HubSpot, Salesforce, Asana, any market leader that they might know, but they know it's not going to be the right tool for them. So they're looking for other options. And they're coming to you pretty close to making that decision. So we think about these comparison pages as sales pages. More than educational assets, they're really conversion-oriented assets. So you want to spend time really understanding pain points, objections that that people have when they're reading these pages. So you want to tackle those objections. You want to touch on those pain points. You convince them that this is the right tool for them, and you convert them and you get them to try your product. And then hopefully your product does the selling on its own, and they become a client, right? So where do you start? A lot of people ask me, like, okay, comparison pages. Like, what should I do first? Should I be looking at my competitors? Should I be just sit down and writing everything I know about them? No. When you are writing comparison pages, the first place you need to start is research. And that's probably a good approach for any copywriting task, right? So you got to start with research. And from this point on, we're just, let's leave theory out, and we're going to focus on basically do's and don'ts and actionable ideas for you to hopefully watch this presentation and then go and tackle your comparison pages on your own. So research. And by the way, stop me at any point. If you have any questions, like, just let me know. I know that I can maybe go fast through this, but let me know. So research, choosing your competitors. Again, a lot of people, when they come to us, they don't know which competitors they should be targeting. Maybe they have tens of competitors, dozens of competitors, and that you can't really do them all at the same time because that's too big of a project, right? So, and this is from our own experience. Most of our clients, they get 3 pages at a time. That's kind of like our most popular package. So starting with 3, starting with 4, 5 at the most is a good idea. It gives you like a big enough project so you can focus on that for a bit of time, and it's not going to be overwhelming. It's not going to be 20 different competitors that you're doing at the same time, which can get tiring and it can get hard to get through with. So how do you know which competitors you want to target out of everybody in your space? You have to figure out who you're losing to, right? Who are you winning against? Which competitors always come up, especially if you have a sales-led approach, if you have reps doing demos, if you are doing demos yourself as a founder, you're probably hearing this. You're picking up patterns, right? People are asking you, okay, but how are you different from XYZ? So those competitors that keep popping up, you might want to have a comparison page against them, because what it does, it allows you to answer that question at scale. And if you can put that page in front of people before they come to you, maybe they don't need a demo because they get the answers that they need. So they book, they sign up straight away, or maybe they go to the demo, but they're already primed with this information. They don't need to ask this question again. You've overcome some objections, and it's going to be an easier sell, hopefully, right? And as a general rule, I always try to say, identify these 2 questions, right? Which competitors are coming up the most against you, and who are you winning against? Because before the ones that you're losing, it's tempting to try and build a comparison page against the ones that you're losing, because you want to kind of like avoid the leaky bucket, right? Oh, I'm losing all of these deals with this competitor. I need something to fix that. That might be tempting, but I feel it's a better approach to do the ones that you're winning against first, because those are going to be your low-hanging fruit, right? The biggest opportunities right now. People are comparing you against them, and you're winning. So you want to put more people in front of those comparison pages, right? talk to your sales reps if you have them. Ask them who's coming up, which competitors are coming up, and they will give you insights on this. Another thing to consider is the SEO angle. So especially if you are going to try to position these pages from an SEO perspective and get them to rank. Obviously, you want that. You want to bring organic traffic to your site from these comparison pages, but you got to understand which keywords are going to present the biggest opportunities for you. Now, this is an example as if like your product was Asana, right? So this is Asana versus Monday, and then we have different competitors here: Trello, ClickUp, Monday. And what we do at Stack Against is we run all your competitors on a different set of standard comparative keywords. So when people are searching for alternatives, they usually do like ClickUp alternative, or cheap ClickUp alternative, or variations of that, or also ClickUp versus Asana, or ClickUp versus Monday, and maybe they don't even include your product there, but that's also a keyword that you might notice it has volume, so there's opportunity there. So you gotta run those keywords, create a report, and identify your biggest opportunities. So right now, this is an example, but this is actual real numbers. So Asana versus Monday has way higher volume than all of these other alternatives, right? So that immediately tells you people are comparing Asana versus Monday. So why not create a piece of content that answers that question from your perspective, right? And then a bunch of these keywords are probably going to be better suited for PPC campaigns. So for example, Trello pricing, ClickUp pricing. It's good to kind of like intercept people who are searching for those terms. And it might be more difficult to rank for this with an organic comparison page. You want to target the keywords that mention the alternative. So in this case, Trello alternative, it's a good fit if you want to rank that organically. But these ones that talk about pricing or reviews, those are still good options for you to create comparison pages and then target those keywords via PPC. And if you want to, we can talk more about this at the end of the call, the video. But if you want to check out all these keywords for your product, you can go to stackagainst.com/CKG. And we created a mini product where you enter your product and your competitors, and we give you all of these keywords instantly. And it's free, so you can go in there and create your own report. That's pretty cool. Okay, now that you've identified which competitors to target, you have to start coming up with your competitive angles, right? And ideally, you come up with a different angle for each competitor. I want to say different, I don't mean widely different, but based on your strengths and each one of your competitors' weaknesses, you don't have to find something slightly different to say, because you're not going to compete the same with everybody, right? You're not going to compete the same against the market leader versus a minor product that might have fewer features than you. It might not be as a robust alternative as your product. So versus different competitors, you're going to have different ways to win, and you want to be mindful of that. And where do you find these competitive angles? Again, research. You have to find, and at this point, you probably know your own product strengths, right? But like, again, start from there. What makes me a good option? Why are people choosing me versus others? You want to take a look at communities like Facebook groups, Reddit. We use these all the time to like see what people are searching for and the kind of conversation they're having. Like you can even search like these keywords, Asana versus Monday, Reddit, and Google is going to bring up a lot of Reddit conversations where people are discussing these, and you're going to see what people are talking about on these forums, which is great for mining insights and stuff that you can use in your copywriting. You also got to look at your competitors' marketing, their weaknesses, stuff that they're not talking about. Maybe you're good at, I don't know, security, and your competitors are not talking about that. Even if they're good at that, even if they're strong, the fact that they're choosing not to talk about that kind of like leaves the gap open that maybe you can use, right? And then online reviews. So this is an example from G2, and it like right away it's telling you, okay, this tool, which we don't have the name for, but it doesn't matter. It's just an example. Great community platform, but still very focused on school/academy, right? So if your product is a community platform too, and it's built for business, now you know that like this could be an angle, right? We are the business, the community platform built for businesses versus these guys who are built for more like social communities, right? And this is just a single review, but if you take a look at multiple reviews, if you take a look at communities and you see these trends, then that's going to give you an idea of, okay, here's where I could be attacking this competitor. And then this is kind of like the framework that we use to simplify that single positioning or single narrative versus each competitor. It needs to be something you're great at. Obviously, you want to sell your strengths. It needs to be something that your users care about. And hopefully with all of this research, you've identified the answer to this question. Otherwise, you're going to be selling something that is not relevant to them. And it needs to be something that your competitors can't match. Because they don't have that feature, if it's a feature-based comparison, because they're not working with that specific segment of the market. For example, you're for smaller businesses, they're for the enterprise. So maybe that's a gap that you can occupy. Or maybe from a branding perspective, right? Or something that is not necessarily feature related. It could be your customer service. It could be, I don't know, something that they can match or they're not talking about. They're not using that positioning. Because otherwise, if you're fighting them, if you're picking a battle where they're already occupying that space, you're just setting yourself up for failure, right? Because if people already know your competitor for that, and they spend time and effort positioning them in some specific way, you don't want to go and battle them for that position in the same positioning. Okay, and finally, this is a very important comment. If you're using the same angle for all your comparison pages, chances are you're doing something wrong. And again, it goes back to, you have to be mindful of your strengths are their weaknesses. And if it all looks the same, chances are you need to go back to the drawing board. You need to find a better gap. You need to find something more specific to talk about against each competitor. Because if somebody is still evaluating their options, they come to your website, they find your comparison page is valuable, at least in a way that you're helping them get to that answer of how you're different, and they suddenly click through 2, 3, or more of your comparison pages, and they realize they're just the same. There's the same template, the same idea, and just the name of the competitor that you're switching on each page. The effectiveness of those pages is going to be pretty low, because they're going to notice that it's not true, it's not credible. You just did a copy-paste exercise for all your competitors, and that's it, right? Okay, and then the final stage, research step, and this is the bridge from research to copywriting. Give your writers a solid brief. This is their starting point. It could be your own internal team. It could be yourself writing these comparison pages. It could be an outsourced freelancers. In our case, if you would like to work with us, we would take care of the brief. But whoever is going to be working on this, you need to lay out the brief for them, because there's so much to think about when writing these comparison pages that you kind of like, you need to give your writers guardrails, right? You need to give them, this is the angle. Yeah, this is the research that we conducted. This is why we ended up with this angle. These are the features that we have and they don't, based on our research, right? Get the ball as close to the hole as possible. So they just need to put it in and kind of like wrap it up with solid copywriting, convincing, persuasive copywriting. But if that part of the research is already completed for them, then you're going to be helping your team write solid comparison pages. Okay, stage 2, copywriting. This is the part that we like the most. Like we do design and a couple of other details, but we're basically a copywriting agency, right? So we have a lot of stuff to discuss about copywriting. The number one is mind your reader's awareness stage. Anybody that's done copy before or even marketing, you know that awareness stage is really, really important. You gotta find your users where they are at the moment, and you gotta talk to their awareness stage. And in this case, chances are that people have done the research already. If they're coming to your website using those keywords like ClickUp alternative, chances are they already know about ClickUp. Chances are they've evaluated some of their options already in this space. So you want to jump straight to that point of telling them how you're different. Don't worry too much. Like your homepage should be clear in a way of saying, what is this tool? What do you do with it, right? What is it built for? With your comparison pages, you can skip a little bit of that and go straight to talking about, this is what makes me different from my competitors, right? And kind of connected to that, don't waste key real estate. This is the hero section for a comparison page for Campaign Monitor. And this is when you land on this page, this is the whole about the fall, right? And this is just wasting space the way that I see it, because you're not selling me Campaign Monitor versus constant content. You're just kind of like telling me, oh yeah, this is a comparison page, right? You landed in the right place, but you can do so much more with this with your hero section. And also, a lot of people are writing these comparison pages with a heavy SEO optimization intent. So the keyword is not everything you need. It's not going to be sufficient, and you're trying to target that keyword here, constant content versus Campaign Monitor, which is okay, but you need to do a little more than that. And this is a good example of how to structure a hero section to do that and to tell visitors right away how you're helping them solve their problems. So now you're covering the SEO aspects because you have that keyword there, but at the same time, you're telling people right away, Surfer is the phrase alternative that works before and after you write your content, and blah, 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 and phrase stops when your content goes live. Surfer helps you plan, outline, and write content and runs and keep ranking. So you're really spending time describing what makes your tool different, right? I see you smiling, Ryan. Maybe you have some comments there.
I'm a bit of a copywriting buff, man. This is good. Like, I really like this. This is good.
Awesome. Yeah, we try to have fun writing these comparison pages. I think they give you room to be a little bit like entertaining, not just educating, and kind of like get more aggressive with your copy. And when I say aggressive, I don't mean that in a negative way, but kind of like try and push your narrative further. So yeah, we have fun writing this. Okay, what else? Here's another example of how to get the SEO aspect and the persuasion aspect on your hero section. So what we do, I don't know if you noticed this here, but we tend to add this, we call this a pre-header. And it's kind of like a smaller line before your main headline. And what this does is it allows us to put the main keyword, which in this case is podium alternative, but we're not messing with the main headline that we want people to see, right? When you land on this page, we want you to see this first. Choose Cloudly to send video requests that get you more 5-star reviews. But we also want to optimize for SEO and for Google. So the way we do this is the H1 on the page from like an HTML perspective. This is the H1, and it contains the main keyword that we want to rank for, but it's styled to look like a minor line that maybe you want to skip and you don't need to read it if you don't want to. This is meant to get your attention, but this is the H2 on the page, right? So it's a little hack so you can get all of the SEO benefits without hurting your persuasions, right? Very, very tactical idea here.
So just to jump in, Fede, so you're giving Google what it wants to see to drive traffic to the page, but when a human user lands on the page, you're dragging their attention to the really juicy bit that is the winning kind of comparison. Yeah,
that's exactly
awesome. That's really cool.
The idea is that you want to write for humans first and then optimize for SEO. So we like you see this on any landing page. Your hero section is going to be the biggest conversion element on your page, and the main headline, the H1 you would call it, is the most important part of your hero section. But sometimes getting that keyword in your main headline is not too easy because it forces you to write kind of like a clunky headline. In this case, this could even work as a main headline. Cloudly is a podium alternative with a human approach, but it's not really allowing us to be precise, right? This is the main thing, right? You get more 5-star reviews. That is the selling benefit with Cloudly, and the one thing that we wanted to convey, and the video request, right? So there's a lot of elements to include there. The video request that get you 5-star reviews, and then forcing podium alternative into that headline would make it too big, too long, too clunky. So you got to start breaking it down into pieces, and that also allows you to optimize for SEO by using this trick. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Perfect. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. Just one question.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't mean to jump in if that's going to derail you. Normally we do questions.
No.
But when you have the text underneath, so see how you've got Podium only sends text campaigns to ask customers for reviews. Do you generally kind of structure that so you start off with what your competitor does and then set it up so that this is what we do better or differently? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because again, you want to tell that story in as few words as possible, as quick as possible on your hero section. We don't always structure these hero sections like this, but it is a good framework. Like start by stating right away, like your competitor's shortcoming or how you want to deposition them, right? And then immediately describe your what makes you different and what makes you hopefully better for the kind of competitor or customer that you want to attract, right? So this is structured like that. Deposition the competitor and then highlight your difference. Cool. Okay, awesome. What else? Avoid empty claims. A lot of these comparison pages, the way I say it is, they get lazy, right? It's just the number one alternative to, the best alternative to. And first of all, from a copywriting perspective, those are what we call empty claims. It doesn't mean anything. It's not precise. It's not accurate. You're not telling me why you're the best. You better spend time telling me why you're the best instead of just saying we are the best, because it's non-believable otherwise. And then also people get, it creates the opposite effect that you want, because when you say we're the number one, people are going to immediately get defensive and say, okay, prove it to me, right? Why are you the number one? I don't believe you. Unless you have all the brand awareness that, in this case, MailChimp has. So this is really hard to believe because MailChimp is a clear leader in marketing automation or email marketing. So coming to Help Monks, like, I don't know, Help Monks, like, no disrespect, but it's really hard for me to believe that they are the number one alternative to MailChimp, because chances are you know about MailChimp already and you haven't heard from them yet, right? So instead of these empty claims, just tell people how you're different. And also this, which is really important, pick a battle that you can win. You probably can't beat MailChimp by saying you're the number one because they already occupy that space. Again, positioning, what is the market perception about this competitor? But maybe MailChimp is not great at I don't know, servicing enterprise companies, right? They're all for the smaller companies. And you're great because you have certain security features and whatever. So why not pick that niche, that segment, because that's where you really have a higher chance at convincing people that they should choose you over MailChimp. Then call out your buyers. We use this phrase internally at Stack Against, always be qualifying. Instead of always be closing, always be qualifying. It's really important to try and identify what kind of values your ideal customer has. Because if you can bring the battle to the emotional ground, that's great. Because sometimes going feature versus feature doesn't make sense. And especially when you're competing with a product that has a more robust solution, right? Somebody that's been 15 years in the market probably has more features than you, who are a challenger, who's been at it for a couple of years. Maybe you're building up your feature stack, but you're not quite there yet. So if you can bring the battle to the persuasion element, the emotional element, that's great. And that's about understanding who your customer is and what do they care about. So this is a great example. I love this page by Twist. Unfortunately, they updated it, and I think their new page is not as good as this one was. Maybe they have the data to prove it, but they had this whole idea about the Slack alternative for teams that prioritize clarity, and I love that statement, because anybody that is a Slack user, they know how overwhelming and stressful Slack can get with all the bing, 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 the notifications all the time. And they built their comparison page all around that. They weren't comparing themselves again based on, oh, we have a instant messaging, or we have more notification options, or we have customizable channels. No, they're all about, if you want to work with your team, but asynchronously, instead of all day long 24/7 notification and stress, then pick us versus them. And then their whole page was about, we're built this way, and this is why we can guarantee that you're going to be more peaceful, more mindful when working with us instead of Slack. And that's all about soft qualification for me. Okay, what else? State the problem with a competitor, but don't attack your competitor, right? Don't say Hostinger is slow. Try not to attack them directly, because your visitors to this page, they don't hate your competitors, unless they're switching from them and they really went through like an awful experience with the vendor. Chances are they don't hate them. They're just looking for a better solution, right? And if they see you like attacking them and like trashing them, it kind of like takes away some of that credibility. So instead of attacking your competitor directly, attack the problem and name the problem. So instead of Hostinger is slow, you can say something like, don't lose business due to a poor performing site. And then your whole comparison page should be trying to attach Hostinger to this problem, and then proving how your solution overcomes this problem or this objection that you have around, like, am I going to lose business? Am I going to end up with a poor performing site? No, because of this, right? Sell the features that sell the story. I see this all the time. These comparison pages that have endless scroll, because you want to cram every single feature that you have to the comparison page because you want to look like the winner, right? And it's not a matter of quantity; it's more of a matter of quality, right? This is a great example by Ahrefs. They have a single comparison page against SEMrush and Moz. They kind of like created a combined comparison page, and they just have 8 unique things. They could probably add 20 more, because Ahrefs is such a big suite of tools, and they have so many features that chances are they do have more features that make them unique and their competitors don't have. But they wanted to focus the whole narrative around these 8 ideas. And it was kind of like, again, choosing the story and then choosing what features support that story instead of just putting everything in there. And you have other pages on your website to do that heavy lifting as well. If somebody's interested in like reading about your security features and they're invested in you at this point, they're going to go to that specific page and they're going to find a way to answer those questions. But your comparison page should be about supporting that one idea, and then anything that doesn't support it, then maybe it doesn't fit or it doesn't have a place on your comparison page. Okay, and then it's a comparison page, so don't be shy when highlighting your differences, right? This is an example, and it's kind of like the same framework that we've seen for the Cloudly page and the Surfer page. It's a very simple kind of like 1-2 template, and there's no way to get this wrong from a copywriting perspective. You don't have to use fancy words. You don't have to be the best writer in the world. It's about stating with very simple, very clear words. Villian, in this case, charges an add-on fee for this, for the CRM. Doorloop includes it in your plan. It's just very, very simple. And we're not saying, oh, those evil guys at Villian are charging you for this. We're just stating a fact. And when you state a fact, you can't be aggressive, or you can't be evil about it, right? Or ill-intentioned. You're just stating a reality about their product and then saying ours is built differently. And maybe if you want to have a CRM along with this tool, then you're going to get it with us and not with them. If this is important, then choose us. And then from the same example here, use social proof to remove bias. People feel, when I say people, I mean companies publishing these comparison pages. Some of them avoid doing this because they feel, oh yeah, this is going to be absolutely biased. How can people trust me when I'm obviously selling my product? It's obvious that I'm going to highlight everything about me and not say anything about any strength that our competitors might have. There are levels to that. Obviously, all marketing is biased at the end of the day. So your comparison pages should still have a place, even if they're biased, even if you're highlighting how you win versus each competitor. But a good way to reduce that bias and get people to trust you more is going all in with social proof. Like if you're writing a home page, a solutions page, a pricing page, maybe you add a quote here and there. For your comparison pages, my suggestion is the more social proof you can get in there, the better, right? And coming from all angles, quotes, case studies, awards, or like these G2 badges, right? Or Gartner badges, anything that you can add that proves what you're saying, right? What you're claiming to be. If you can add social proof to support that, then great. But make it relevant. So in this case, we had a section talking about the CRM that you get with Doorloop, and then the quote talks about Doorloop CRM. It's not, oh, we love Doorloop, their customer service is great. No, it talks about the specific feature you're trying to position, and also mentioning that your competitor doesn't have.
Just on that, Fede,
Yes.
Sorry to jump in again, but this is awesome. I want to dive in cool. In a little more detail. In terms of getting the social proof, so I totally hear you on rather just having like, yeah, this product's great, the team are really friendly, rather than having generic stuff, you want to tie it to the actual pain point of the comparison that you win. If you don't have social proof like this, or you don't have testimonials from customers, or you don't have case studies or reviews yet that you can tie to these comparisons, like what did you have some tips or hacks on how to go about getting that? So for example, like do you can you kind of like put a testimonial together and then go to some of your closest customers that you've got a good relationship, say, hey, would you be comfortable saying something along these lines? Or could you go to maybe someone that you know has like left one of your competitors and moved to you, and then kind of ask them, why did you leave? Or like, have you got any tips or advice on someone for getting this sort of social proof in the first place?
Yeah, to answer the first part of your question, I would never suggest writing your testimonial for your clients. It kind of like crosses what I think a line that probably you don't want to cross. And at the same time, it takes away the opportunity of getting actual feedback, because at the end of the day, testimonial, it's also a piece of feedback, right? And you want to know from your customer's mouth, what do they love about you, and what do they highlight when you ask them, oh, why did you choose us versus them, or why are you sticking with us? So that's an opportunity that you're going to miss. I would definitely say try to get ask this question to as many customers as soon as possible in your journey. Try to get them when somebody's happy, when they cross certain milestones, like, I don't know, they close their first deal using your tool, boom, ask them for a testimonial, and not just a private testimonial. Ask them to add it to G2, Catera, whatever. Maybe you haven't done a lot of effort here, but if people are going there organically, go on G2 and try to see what people are saying. Try to reach out to these people on your own after they left the review and ask follow-up questions, or maybe grab a quote from there and ask them for permission to use that quote. Catera does this great thing, which is they ask people when they're leaving a review, who else did you consider, or what tool are you switching from? Which it's really relevant for these comparison pages, right? So if you're seeing a review that somebody left for you and they're switching from Billium in this case, and you're building a comparison page against Billium, track that customer down and just try to get them on the phone, try to get them on Zoom, or at least an email back and forth, and ask them what was happening when you made that decision. Why did you choose with us? Why did you move away from them? And that itself is going to build a testimonial for you. And if you can go further, you can get them on a call, ask them more questions, build a case study out of it, then even better, obviously. But yeah, try to track them down, and try to get in touch with them as soon as possible, with as many customers as possible, so you can build up that social reputation, because it's important not just for these comparison pages. It's going to be critical everywhere. People, they're going to these review sites before they go to your site even, and if they go online and they have a false impression about your tool, or not the best one, then you're losing before you even get the chance to compete. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
Perfectly. Yeah, that's great.
Okay, cool. What else? Be in action, sell the switch. Even if people are coming to these comparison pages, chances are you're still going to be losing most of them to inaction, right? People don't like change. They might be frustrated with their current tool, but chances are they're gonna stick with that tool or solution. It could be even a spreadsheet, right, for a long time before they decide to make the switch. So because these comparison pages are about making that decision right now, making the switch right now, like trying to convince someone to like get over the fence and come to you, you gotta sell how easy that switch is gonna be. And not just from a copywriting perspective, not just from like have a section that talks about this, but from a product perspective. Like, how can you engineer that switch and that migration? Can you promise that we're going to do it for you? Can you promise that you're going to get someone from support team that is going to train them on how to do this for free? Can you build a plugin that imports a CSV file that you get from this competitor and plugs it into your product? And then suddenly in a matter of seconds, you're going to get your dashboard looking exactly as you had it before. Like, again, let's go back to the Ahrefs example. If you can export all of your keywords or whatever into a CSV file from SEMrush and then import that into Ahrefs, and it's going to look the same, you're doing 90% of the switching effort for them, and that's going to increase your chances at convincing them to go with you by a lot, right? I can't give you a precise percentage, but it's probably going to be high if you can ease that friction. Yeah. What else? Comparison comparison tables. This is kind of like a standard element on these comparison pages, and a lot of companies get it wrong in a few ways. First of all, they make them endless. This huge scrolling table that doesn't end. This example, I had to cut it because otherwise it wouldn't fit the entire screen, but it was longer than this. And it just, the longer it gets, the harder it is for people to decipher, like, what is all of this? What is Android, Google Cast? Oh, this looks like the same. I have a check mark here and a check mark there. It seems like everybody's the same. So how can you break this down into smaller pieces of information that make more sense? And we're going to see a little bit of that, but creating shorter, or maybe even grouping these comparison charts and having 2, 3 throughout the page that are themed around a specific topic, that would be better. So for example, here we have price and connectivity. If those are two important issues for your buyer, too important, like they're going to be making their decision based on these ideas, why not create a pricing comparison table alone, and then another one that talks about connectivity and all of these, I don't know what, these are kind of like platforms or operated systems that you can connect to this tool, right? But break it down into 2, make it simpler to digest. Again, this idea of talk about the things that support your main narrative. This is, again, the door loop versus building example. In this case, accounting was an important part of the decision, and building doesn't have a whole of accounting features, and door loop has. So we wanted to highlight that. And instead of burying these accounting related comparisons or feature comparison in an endless comparison chart, we created just this little one to highlight the accounting features that we have and they don't. And then avoid the feature versus feature wars. Especially, again, if it doesn't make sense, if your competitor is beating you in terms of how many features they have, how can you shift the narrative to talk about something that is not necessarily features, right? And in this case, we're going back to the Slack Twist versus Slack comparison page that talked about be mindful when you're working with us, reduce stress, stop all of the interruptions. And instead of comparing features, they compared how organized you can be with each tool, how mindful, how transparent, and how flexible you can be with each tool. And it's kind of like putting use cases in front of you instead of talking about features, right? And this is really smart because they probably can't beat Slack in a feature war, but they can absolutely talk about we're built in a different way for a different use case, and then they go all in trying to convince you that that's exactly what they do and how they're different. Okay, and then design. This is going to be shorter, but some very tactical ideas here. Highlight your brand. Avoid using your competitors' logos and brand colors. It might sound minor, but there's 2 layers here. First of all, you don't want to do any free advertising for your competitors, right? So even if you're using their logos really, really small, you're kind of like using their own marketing, right? So try to avoid that. In this case, I would just remove the ZoomInfo logo and just write the name of the brand here. And then the other layer is comparative advertising is it's cool, it's fair, it's legal. In most of the world, there are a couple of places where you can't really do comparative advertising and use your competitor's name. Germany, for example, is one of those countries. But most of the Western world, USA, Canada, Latin America, this is cool. But there's a line that you cross when you're using trademark logos, symbols, words. So if you're using a logo, you might be stepping into that into that ground, and that's where you're gonna get a letter from your competitor asking you to remove their trademark usage logos or whatever. So you want to avoid that as much as possible. Don't use it. Stick to just using their names and the color idea. Hopefully your branding already doesn't look like your competitors, but if there's certain similarity, maybe try to address that in a different way in your comparison pages. And like if you're using blue and they're using blue too, like maybe try to be more flexible and not look so much like them on your comparison pages, so people are not confused and they're always aware of where I'm at. Is this an Apollo comparison page, or is this Apollo website? Is this some info website? You don't want to you want to avoid that confusion as much as possible. Use visuals to sell your uniqueness. It's not just about the information that you choose to put on your comparison pages, but design-based from visual perspective. How can you present that information in a more persuasive way? This is from Basecamp. This is not a comparison page per se. This is part of their pricing page. I don't think they have this anymore, but they used to have it. And their whole idea was that when you're paying for Basecamp, it might look pricier, like $99 a month versus Asana, let's say, but it's actually cheaper because you're getting all these tools for the price of one, and you're paying this fee for your whole team because you have unlimited users versus all of these tools, which are priced per user, right? So I think this visually, this is really cool how they're comparing, they're showing you you're paying Slack plus Asana plus Dropbox plus G Suite, and all of that. It's just for a quick comparison for 5 people, it's already going to be twice what you're paying with us, right? So how can you visually present that information? And then try not to blend in. This is kind of hard with SaaS because there's no real product to show. It's all screenshots, right? And it might get complicated, but if you can show an actual screenshot that it's really compelling, telling people we're built different, we don't look the same as our competitor, then great, more power to you. This is an example for e-commerce, but this is like the hero section. This is from Airtime, right? And they were comparing their product to Chromecast, and you land on their comparison page, and this is the first image that you see, and it's basically the same product, right? They're not doing an effort in showing me which one is which and how it might be different. And unfortunately, maybe they can't, because from an engineering perspective, they're not really built differently. But if that's the case, show something different, right? And the biggest difference between these two products is that Chromecast, you want to use it to plug it to your TV, turn it into a smart TV, and maybe play cartoons for your kids, right? When you're traveling, right? Airtime is built for an entirely different use case. It's built to create what they call hybrid meetings. So if you're in a meeting room and you want to meet with people that are present in that office, and maybe somebody that is joining from Zoom and whatever, you connect the Chromecast, the Airtime to the TV, and it creates this live meeting room where you can mix live with digital, right? So why not show your living room versus an office where you're using Airtime, right? That would be a more compelling comparison. If the product can do it, then you can build it around the use case and something that is not necessarily product related. But whatever you do, don't do this because it's not a true comparison. Okay, what we mentioned about the comparison pages just now, how can you make them easier to digest, right? And in this case, they're not just smaller, but they're used in context, right? So this comparison page supports this idea, and this other comparison page supports this idea. So instead of being a whole chunk that needs to go somewhere below, and then you're scrolling farther away from the selling points, and then you have to remember, oh, what was this about? What is this comparison page about? In this case, you're just putting everything in context and then supporting your copy with the actual comparison, which is way smarter, if you ask me. Use white space to avoid clutter. This is also related to this endless comparison charts. The more stuff you get in there, the more you have to be mindful about how you're presenting the information, and just adding a little bit of white space and giving your comparison charts room to breathe is going to help people understand what this is about. So again, very tactical, but very easy to implement if you're working on these comparison pages right now. And then finally, distribution. Now that you've launched your comparison pages, that's just the beginning, right? So you gotta make sure that you're sending traffic, because you're organically ranking for those alternative keywords, because you're starting a Google Ads campaign. Maybe we're gonna see some ideas here, but again, this trademark issue, if you're gonna be doing advertising, try not to use brand names, right? Because that's where, if your competitor already included that trademark brand name into Google's database, you're gonna get your ads taken down, right? So try to avoid naming them, but this is a smart alternative. How can you reference them without naming them? So in this case, leaving the chimpanzee and go with Mailer Lite. I think that's a smart approach. Obviously, there's limits to that kind of creativity, but if you can do that, great. And then just to leave you with something like what to do once your comparison pages are ready, here are 10 distribution ideas. The number one, probably most people are doing this, add them to your website footer. Anybody that is searching or that is asking themselves the question, okay, this is cool, but how is this product different from X? You want to put that page in front of them. Another good idea for that is a welcome bar. We had a lot of success with Cloudways for this. And what they did is, when they had a bunch of comparison pages, they added, this little bar at the top that when you enter, it welcomes you, and you can use it for anything. You can use it to, launch a new feature, or maybe talk about a new fund. You just raised funds and you want to talk about that, whatever it is. They understood that a huge percentage of their visitors are coming to their website already at an evaluation stage, and they know a bunch or a handful of their competitors already. Most of them are already using a different solution. They're trying to migrate to something that they're happier with, right? A very competitive space, hosting with Cloudways. So if you've identified it's the same with you, just adding that welcome bar, kind of like intercepting people. Hey, are you a SiteGround user, for example? Check how we compare against them. Simple call out, and then send them straight away to your comparison page. Because maybe the answer to the question is not on your homepage or your pricing page, it's on that comparison, because that's what they're looking for. So you're funneling that traffic to where they want to go. Internal linking, this is not necessarily a traffic idea per se, but it's going to help you increase or improve your rankings, because it helps you with SEO optimization. The best way you want to deal with this is, especially if you've done 4 or 5 of these comparison pages already, create what we call a comparison hub, which is a landing page where you basically tell the story of how you're different from every other option in the market. And then from that page, you link to each individual comparison page. And it's going to create this kind of topic cluster related to competitive comparison keywords. And you're kind of like sending out all these signals to Google that you have all this comparison-based content, and hopefully it's going to help you rank those pages. But not just that. If you've already published, or you're planning on publishing content, and when I say content, I mean kind of like a blog article that talks about, I don't know, the best 8 tools for project management, right? And you're reviewing your own product, but you're also reviewing ClickUp and Monday and whatever. And if you build comparison pages against those competitors, from that article, you can send people to the specific comparison page. And you're not just creating those internal links, but also you're sending people through the right stages, right? They go to that more middle of the funnel educational content. I want to know what options are out there in the market. And then, oh, I want to know how you compare against this specific competitor, because now I'm interested in you and them, right? Create a page that targets your own brand alternative, right? And this is what we call the comparison hub again. And we did this for Cloudways. We targeted a lot of these keywords: SiteGround alternative, WP Engine alternative, all the competitors. But we didn't create one for Cloudways alternative. And the reality is that a lot of people are also searching for that keyword. And a smart way to target that keyword is creating this comparison hub, again, where you're kind of like telling people, this is how we're different from every other option, and these are all the alternatives. But instead of sending them to, obviously, to their website, you're sending them to the comparison page. And immediately we ranked, I think we started ranking the top 3 results very, very fast with Cloudways, like a few days after publishing that page, for the keyword Cloudways alternative. And what you're doing there also is you're controlling the narrative. You're not letting your competitors answer the question of Cloudways alternative, because you are ranking for that term as well. So you're pitching your own perspective to that question. Another way to use this comparison page is share it with the affiliates. If affiliate is a good source of leads for you, chances are affiliates are going to want a bottom of the funnel page that they can send interested leads to. And a lot of affiliates are also using the same strategy, like the top 10 project management tools, where they're sending traffic to your website, affiliate traffic. But instead of sending them to your homepage, where maybe they're going to see a bunch of stuff that they don't care about, why not send them to a comparison page straight away? And a lot of affiliates also do these Cloudways versus SiteGround. Who's the best tool for you, right? What is the best tool for you? Then if you can give them an asset that answers that question, that is very bottom of the funnel and that is converting well, affiliates are going to love you, because they're going to be closing more business. And the same with YouTube videos. This is kind of like attached to affiliates, but I wanted to highlight that specifically. Again, a lot of people are creating that content. Cloudways versus SiteGround, who's the best, right? Use that. If you identify people doing that, get in touch and tell them, hey, I have this asset. Would you be interested in linking to this with an affiliate link? In terms of ads, Google Ads, it's a standard approach for comparison pages, not just targeting the competitive, the alternative to keywords, but also, as we've seen, Asana pricing, Asana reviews, or maybe just Asana, right? If you want to go broad, target your competitor's brand and see what kind of results you get there. But also retargeting ads. If somebody's coming to your site and they don't convert, that doesn't mean they're not going to convert far down the line. They might be evaluating you versus others. They might be still considering their choices. So if you're retargeting them and you're answering that question, like how are you different? Maybe they didn't get to see your comparison pages yet. So targeting them with comparison-based content is a good idea now that they know a little bit more about you. They're at least aware about your solution. Now they want to know how you compare against others. Organic social media, pretty standard, but if you have a bunch of followers on social, 100% of those followers are not going to be your customers, obviously. And again, chances are they started following you because they were interested, but maybe they're not ready to convert just yet. And the last effort that they need is understanding how you compare against others. So coming up with a competitive or comparison-based content, and then again, sending them to a specific asset as your comparison pages makes sense for them as well. And then battle cards too, especially if you're doing demos, if you have a sales team. Battle cards are these kind of like one-pagers where you give your salespeople, like in a nutshell, how you compare. And all of this comes from your research and the copy efforts that you've done for your comparison pages. Just translate that into a one-page PDF where they can open and they can see in a single line how we compare against competitor XYZ. And what is their pricing model? What is our pricing model versus them? What kind of features we have and they don't? How to position them, right? What kind of talking points you need to bring up during a conversation with a prospect that would make them hesitate, right? Oh, like, I don't know. Are you interested in, I don't know, single sign-on, right? And increasing your security? And just bring up that question because you know they don't have it. And if that's something that your customer cares about, your prospect cares about, then that allows you to deposition your competitor right away. Okay, and that's it. And finally, as a thank you gift, I wanted to repeat this. If you go to our website, startagainst.com/CKG, that's our comparative keyword generator. What it does is that it's a simple form. It's free. It takes a second. You just enter your product name, enter your competitors, as many as you want, and it's going to send you over email a CSV file or a Google Sheet file with all of these variations and the search volume and how competitive these keywords are and the CPC costs for each one of these keywords. So you understand at a glance where are your best SEO and PPC opportunities with this comparison-based content. So you can go there and get your keyword report. That would probably be a good place to get started thinking about your comparison pages.
Dude, that was fantastic. There's so much value in that. That's awesome. Awesome.
I said it was going to be actionable, right?
Dude, you nailed it.
That was awesome.
That was perfect. I did have a couple of questions
guys.
if you have a few more minutes.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on so I noticed that you said pick out like your top kind of 3 to 5 competitors as a starting point. And then later on you said having a comparison hub that then links to all those like one-on-one comparisons. I've seen some people do comparison pages and maybe they got a bit lazy, or maybe they just didn't have the time or resources to do it. They kind of had like us versus 3 or 4 other competitors all on the same page, and they have this like monster comparison table that, like you said, scrolls on and on and on forever. And then I find that a little bit overwhelming. It's hard to focus on. Is that something that you've seen people do? Is that something that you would recommend? Is that something that you think is not best practice? Like, what are your thoughts on doing it that way, as opposed to an individual page for each one?
Well, if you're already building the individual pages, it doesn't make sense. But if you're building this comparison hub, I think that might be a better place to put this, how we compare against everybody. And we've done that for Clarkways, again, that example. And we do have these bigger comparison tables where it's like the Clarkways column and then a bunch of competitors, right? And yes, they are harder to kind of like decode, but what you want to do when you're building those kind of comparison charts, even more, keep them short. Just focus on one theme with each comparison chart. Don't create a big one, because if they're long and wide, then you're losing everybody. Nobody has the mental ability to decipher that real quick. I would say use them there, because when people are coming to this, how we compare against everybody, they want to know, like at a glance, maybe they have this question, are you the cheapest, right? Or are you the fastest? Or are you the most secure option out there? If they're coming to these pages or to your website with those questions, it might make sense to try and position yourself as the number one in one of these aspects, right? But I wouldn't start there. That would probably not be my first effort. First of all, because the hub doesn't make sense until you've built at least 3, let's say, of these comparison pages. Otherwise, you don't really have a hub. You just have a couple of comparison pages. And then your biggest conversion opportunities are in the one-on-one comparison, not this Cloudways alternative, for example, where you are going against everybody at the same time.
Awesome. And second question is, what should you be linking out to on a comparison page? Is this the kind of thing like a landing page where you try to remove the number of links and calls to action, just so you can kind of keep their attention focused on completing a certain thing, in this case, signing up for your product? Or if you are going to use, for example, case studies, does it make sense to kind of, because maybe you don't have enough space for the whole case study, does it make sense to kind of have a snapshot and then link out to the case study? But then what are your thoughts on what links to include and what links to try and avoid on these comparison pages?
Yeah, great question. I would say try to avoid outside links, outbound links as much as possible. We try not to add them. Even if you have a solid case study, and if you have a case study where you can say, like, this company switched from Asana to Monday and they got 2x whatever, right? That's great. But try to kind of like summarize the case study with a headline, one or two short paragraphs or lines, and then that's it. Use it more like social proof than an outbound link. If there's any link, I would say that's probably the only one that I would use, sending people to a very relevant case study, and make sure that if you're sending them to that case study is also built for conversions, and you have a way for people to click there and get started with a trial, with a demo, whatever it is that you do. Other than that, try to avoid any outbound links, because these pages are, again, these are sales pages, and it's all about capturing the conversion at that point. And people are coming to these pages very close to making that decision. So you want to capture that intent and not distract people.
And final question, and maybe it's probably multiple schools of thought on this, so I'd love to get your input on it. What are your thoughts? Okay, so not, some people are going to come to this comparison page and they're not going to be the right fit for your business, and they might be better served by a competitor. What are your thoughts on, does it make sense to sign up to a competitor's affiliate program and to put an affiliate link in there somewhere? And I don't know if that maybe sits in an exit pop-up or somewhere else, but just saying, hey, look, if we're absolutely not the right fit for you and you do want to go with this competitor, at least, click this link or click this to save yourself a bit of money if you are going to switch to another competitor. Is that something that you've seen people do before, or would you just avoid that completely, or how would you approach that?
I haven't seen it. This is the first time that I hear that question. So congrats. I never got that before. Well, because I haven't even thought about that, I would say the best answer is I don't know. Okay. But I don't feel any of our customers would be comfortable doing that. I think it's a tricky approach, and even if you're like, these pages should be disqualifying customers as much as qualifying them. So if you can tell people right away, like, if you're looking for this kind of solution, then we're not going to be the right fit for you, and they're going to close your page and go somewhere else, and that's good. That's okay, because you understand you can't win them all, right? But going farther and linking to that page, I think
it's going too far.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not sure if the probably low effectiveness of that, because you're not just linking them, you have to get them to sign up and pay in order to make a little bit of money. I don't think it's worth maybe the bad taste that could generate, not just for users, but maybe your competitors finding out, because they're going to see maybe where their traffic is coming from. So I don't know. I'll probably stay away from that, at least until someone convinces me that there's actual money or results. Maybe I would be open to testing it. Yeah.
I have heard a situation where someone had, they put AdSense ads on, it wasn't a comparison page, to be fair. I think it was a landing page or something, but they did mention some of their competitors, and they did have AdSense on there. And as I understand it, like, the logic behind that was the cost per click in that space was just so expensive. By displaying some ads on there, that allowed them to recoup some of the costs so that they could stay competitive, and their competitors had really deep pockets to spend on advertising. So that was the only way that they'd be able to feasibly make that work. But I guess that's very much an edge case, and maybe it just doesn't make sense to do something similar with comparison.
Yeah, it might be an edge case.
Yeah, absolutely. And final thing, is there an example? Can you point to an example of one that you've done with Stack Against that you'd like to show off, or that you're able to show off and demonstrate for people as well? Because I'd love to have
like a full comparison page.
Yeah, or just something, some of your work that you've done at Stack Against that maybe some people watching this video might be interested in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Checking out.
Yeah, we have thankfully we have tons of examples. I'm particularly keen with this. Like, I really like this one.
Yeah.
There's a few elements at play here that I like to highlight. First of all, Process Kit is not an apples to apples competitor to Asana.
Mm-hmm.
It's not this big project management tool, but what it is a process-driven project management tool. So let me explain this a little bit. Somebody that is process-driven, somebody that has a process-driven company, they know what this means. But basically, if your company works a lot with SOPs, documentation, and you follow standard processes for everything that you do, or for most of the stuff that you do, then you don't want, or maybe you don't necessarily want, a project management tool that is so flexible that you can build anything. What you want is a tool that puts processes and the right step-by-step in front of the right people dealing with those tasks at the right time. So it's easier for these teammates or these employees to follow those processes when they need to, right? So again, it is a way to manage projects, but it's a very specific way, right? But at the same time, they targeted as an alternative, and specifically the keyword here was Asana recurring tasks. That's kind of like the main keyword I wanted to target, because we were looking for people that might be using Asana and trying to build this idea of recurring tasks, because Asana is not really built for that. There's no way to create repeatable processes in Asana, and that's the exact solution that Process Kit provides, right? So we wanted to capture a segment of the market that needs project management tool, but are not happy with the way Asana does this, and they're trying to find a way more specific solution. So we built that here from the SEO perspective, and then the persuasion perspective. Process Kit is an alternative for managing recurring tasks. We just stated out very, very clear. And then companies that struggle to automate recurring tasks in Asana, we start with the pain point, right? What is the burning pain that you have right now? And then we move to the heaven with Process Kit. Love how Process Kit makes the work predictable. All of this work predictable, all of that came up a lot during the research for this comparison page. This is just social proof, but obviously with a headline, trying to get this in context.
And you've got the screenshots that kind of illustrate how all that kind of plays together really nicely. Yeah, cool. Okay.
Exactly. This is one of those probably very few examples where the product is built so differently one from the other that you want to show how this looks inside the tool. And they don't just do it here on this comparison page. They use these kind of graphics across the website, but this is really cool for the comparison. And then we twisted the knife even more. We dig down on the pain. The formula we use to write this comparison page is PAS. I don't know if you're familiar with, but it's pain, agitate, solution, right? So state the pain. What is the pain? Which we did here, right? Companies that struggle to automate recurring tasks. And then dig the knife, agitate that pain, make me feel like I can't live with this anymore, right? Your tool should match the way you work, not the other way around. We get this all the time from users that migrate from Asana to Process Kit. No automation for repeatable processes. You have to dig through tasks to find what to work on next. You still need 2 or 3 apps to get your work done, right? And then what else we did here? We brought negative reviews for Asana that supported this idea. So these are not reviews for Process Kit. These are reviews for Asana on Capterra, on G2, that talk about exactly this idea. If you have processes and systems, this is a waste of time for you. It ended up creating more problems than it solved. I spent more time navigating it than using it for task management. It's difficult to maintain consistency. So all of this supported our selling point. And this is, again, one of these ways to remove bias, right? We're not making this up. Here, take a look at these actual users that are struggling to do the same thing that you are struggling with Asana, right? And then we started with the comparison and more of the benefit or feature-based comparison. And this is me, because we don't use this tool anymore, but our business is very much running on processes, because every project looks the same. We're doing the same deliverable every single time. And we created a very detailed step-by-step process for each part of the project. And we were Process Kit users at some point. We're a great example of a tool that is built for us, right? And we did this throughout the page. Asana demands manual work. Process Kit eliminates manual work. All the time, black and white, them versus us. Why not choose them? Why choose us, right? Asana requires plenty workarounds. Process Kit fits your processes. Managing Asana is a part-time role. Process Kit saves you hours daily.
Right.
And like, you're not seeing features here. We didn't say, oh, automations and integrations and step-by-step flows. No, we describe the use cases, and we're trying to tell you how your life is going to look like with Process Kit once you've solved this big pain that you have. Process Kit powers up your processes without the overwhelm. Again, we're always hammering that idea. It's unnecessary steps, clicks and tabs. You don't have to do any of these with us. And then we sold a few must-haves. The integrations are really critical for anybody that is coming to Process Kit. And even though Asana also has Zapier integration, we wanted to highlight that too. Like, that's also part of the strategy on what kind of content you need to add to these pages. Sometimes you need to add stuff that you're not winning versus Asana here, right? Maybe there's feature parity, or maybe they even have let's call it a better Zapier integration. Even if that's the case, you want to have this on your comparison page, because if they're evaluating them and they're evaluating you, they're going to have this mental checklist of, okay, do they have a Zapier integration? Yes, no. So you want to answer that question too. Some more social proof. We did something similar to Twist here, the example that I show you. This is not, again, it's not feature-based. Because, again, Asana kicks their ass in terms of features. They have so many features. And part of the narrative is they have so many features and so much flexibility and stuff that you need to customize that you end up losing yourself in the process instead of doing the work, right? So we wanted to highlight that. Document repeatable processes, no, yes. Preload new projects with templatized processes. Define if this and that automations and rules, blah, blah, blah. More social proof, and then the call to action.
Call to action in the end. Fantastic. Dude, that looks awesome.
I think it's a good example of a comparison page.
Yeah,
absolutely. Fede, we are just about out of time, so we might need to wrap things up there. But yeah, so if anyone wants to get in touch with you, so next step is to go to Stack Against / was it CKG for comparison keyword generator?
CKG, or just go to our website, get in touch with us, and we can run the support for you. If you want to book a call with us faster and start a conversation, we're happy to do that too.
Fantastic. Fede, that was fantastic, mate. Really impressed. This is a great talk.